Hello y'all, this is Rachel from CypressTextiles and welcome to my crochet learning portal level 3. So today we're going to talk about decreasing. The Shape Disc Callista is going to show us how to decrease our stitches and make some shaping in our piece. Maybe I'll show you how to decrease by just skipping chains first. That might be the easiest concept, so I'll go with that first. So one way to decrease is literally, if I were to work all of these stitches, I'd have a total of 6 stitches. Skip 2 and work into the next chain after that 2. Oh, if I can there. And then just make my double crochet. And so it makes your foundation chain look like that. So that is like the most basic way of decreasing, is just literally skipping stitches and working into the next stitch, and then you've got yourself a decrease, because now I've only got 4 stitches where I had 6 before because I didn't work into these 2 chains here. Decreasing DC 2 together, I'm going to yarn over like I'm going to make a DC, okay? And then I'm going to insert my hook just like I'm going to make a DC. Pull up a loop and draw the yarn through 2 loops on the hook. And normally if I was going to make a full DC, I would yarn over and draw the yarn through these last 2 loops. But I'm not. I'm going to leave a loop behind. Okay, and now I'm going to yarn over and go into my next stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop, draw the yarn through 2 loops on the hook, and now I've got 3 loops on my hook, and I've got what I have here. Okay, so this can be confusing. So I'm making a DC2 together, but I have 3 loops on my hook. So that's because you have your leading loop. This is your leading loop. This is your first leg, they call it a leg. This is your first leg of your decrease, and this is your second leg. Since you're making a DC2 together, you've only got these 3 loops. So now I'm going to yarn over and draw the yarn through all 3 loops on the hook. Okay, so now I've decreased from 2 double crochet to 1. So you're working partial double crochet there in all of the, in whatever amount of stitches you're trying to decrease. So let's say I want to DC 3 together. I'll just make a yarn over, go into this next stitch, pull up a loop, go through 2 loops, and now I've got 3 partial DCs here. And that is a DC3 together. So by working a DC3 together, I'm decreasing the total stitch count by 2 stitches. All right, because I'm decreasing 3 into 1. Okay, so now I've made my DC3 together. And if you make a DC4 together, I'm gonna do that, and yarn over, insert the hook into this last chain that I have. And I'll tell you guys why I keep doing these more stitches and more stitches. All right, so now I'm decreasing 4 stitches down to 1. So I'm getting rid of 3 stitches on my final stitch count. So when you do this, the more stitches you decrease together, the steeper of a valley you have. So the more curved of a piece you have at the bottom. And that's the same thing as when you remember in my increasing video, when you increase by putting 2 DC in one, you get a soft curve. If you put 5 DC in one, you get a steep curve. Same thing here. When you decrease only 2 together, you get a soft curve. If I decrease 4 together, then I get a steeper curve. And so that is a way that you can manipulate the shape of your piece by how many stitches you're decreasing together. So now I think I'll show you, just in case, how to do it with single crochet, just because that might be a little confusing. Like, single crochet is barely any stitching at all. So how do you do it? So first I'm going to start by, since I'm doing single crochet, I'm going to make a single in the second chain from the hook. So I'll just go right there, make a single crochet. And now I will let's say I'll single crochet 3 together. So how you make a single, right, is you just go straight into the chain, right, or the stitch. You don't yarn over at all. So I'll go ahead and make a single. So that's how we're going to make our single crochet 3 together. Okay, I'm going to just insert my hook without yarning over, pull up a loop. Okay, just leave that there. Insert the hook, pull up a loop, insert the hook, pull up a loop. So now I've got 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to single crochet 3 together, yarn over, and draw the yarn through all 4 loops on the hook. See? Now I've got a tiny little single crochet 3 together. If I'm making a split DC5 together, then I'll have a partial DC in the first stitch. So the first leg is here. There's my partial DC. Then I'll yarn over, skip 3 chains, and go into this 5th chain. So it's a split DC5 together because that still worked over 5 chains or stitches, but it's got my partial DCs there. Instead of just working a DC here and a DC in the other one, I'm working down to 1 leg of the decrease in the first chain, skip 3 chains, and then the second leg of the decrease in the 5th chain. Okay, so what does this mean? So what this means is I've got, if I work my split DC5 together, okay, all right, so what does that mean? Okay, so what that means is I've worked 5 stitches down to 1 here. I have one DC essentially, even though it's a decrease, but I'm gonna put 1 stitch in this decrease if I wanted to work into it. So I'm working 5 stitches down to 1. Now, if I work it like making a full DC in the first chain, skipping 3, and making a full DC in the last chain, in the 5th chain. So if I make my DC5 together that way, I have 2 stitches because I have a full DC and a full DC. This might not mean a lot, but in a pattern, you might have a big difference there. If you want 1 center stitch instead of 2 in the valley, then you might want to decrease down to making it where you have your first leg here and your second leg here with a split DC5 together. So it's all, I guess, personal preference, or it might just be in the pattern. So you might have to deal with decreases like that, where you make the first leg in 1 stitch, skip some in the center, and make the second leg in the next stitch. So a little complicated, but something I think you're gonna encounter definitely in your crochet endeavors. So I just wanted to touch on it here while I'm talking about decreasing. And I'm sure there's more complex decreasing topics that I'll go into in a different video. But for now, I'm gonna just end this decreasing. I could talk shop for hours, but hopefully you learned a few tips and tricks or learned something new, or at least just found this interesting at the very least. And I will see you guys for the next video. Happy crafting, y'all.